Hey gamers, welcome to part 2 of our episode. If you missed the first part of this episode, stop what you're doing and go back and check out part 1 on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to RPGaymer podcast. Without further ado, let's get started with part 2. So, we have talked about traditional cozy games a lot, and I know, you're a big proponent of this, and I completely agree with you that, a game doesn't have to be a blank sim in order to be considered a cozy game. So, I guess I want to talk about what are some aspects of non-traditional games that bring them into the cozy world, and then what would be some of your picks for those of this not everyone would say is cozy, but I think it's cozy.
Big one for me is story.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking like big cutscenes, big voice acting, big world building, something like when you're reading a book, something you feel ridiculously immersed in.
Truly.
And these are typically longer experiences, something that the RPG genre does really, really well. And honestly, something I think is very slept on. I think that's mainly because at the moment, cozy is widely pushed forward by indie games, and indie games don't have the budget to do this combination of full voice acting, full cutscenes, that kind of thing. Although I will say Wildflowers dabbled in it, being a farming sim, and I really enjoyed that experience. That's the first farming sim I have married someone in, because normally I feel very indifferent about marriage and friendships in farming sims, but the voice acting just kind of brought them alive in a different way. But yeah, I'm a big one on story, so we're talking Fire Emblem Three Houses, where some people could find that stressful because in that game your choices have impacts. But I really liked the voice acting, the story that went along with it. I felt like I was playing with a purpose.
Oh, it's so wonderful being in the monastery and teaching your students and bonding with them and really seeing their stories develop. I mingle with the Fire Emblem community quite a bit and some of their content creators because they've been on a lot of our episodes, and some of them aren't big fans of it because they like the more strategic gameplay than they do the cozier side of it. But that's one of the few games where I'm they nailed cozy so well in Three Houses.
Yeah.
It's not artificial in Engage. It is truly this nice setting that they created. It's great. If Scott ever had to play Fire Emblem, it'd be you're playing Three Houses. It is so good.
I always try and I think it's fantastic for beginner RPG people, because you could turn off the permadeath, you can turn down the combat to be easier. But for me, what really made that game is the way there was an arc to every character. Before, during the game, after the game, you can see almost no one felt redundant in it at all. And I felt like they were real humans.
Truly. And has Daddy Raphael in there?
I went for Edelgard.
Did you?
Which, if you've played through, you know how much of a roller coaster that whole journey is.
Yeah.
Another game that I don't think will ever leave me for my entire life, and I've brought a lot of people onto it, is Xenoblade, and specifically Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I have never cried so much in my entire life. Normally a game is lucky to get Wildflowers got a tear. I think Spiritfarer got a few tears here and there throughout the game. For the end, 5 hours of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I was blubbering.
Oh, wow.
I was full on making the noises, there were tears everywhere. It was not a pretty sight. I have never felt that much from a game in my entire life. The way this fantasy story hits on everything about being human it's just incredible, because if you don't know Xenoblade Chronicles 3, it's a story based on these characters that they're kind of born as adults and they have 10 years to live, and their whole purpose is to fight in a war. And the story kind of follows their journey through discovering, is this our only purpose in life, and that kind of thing. And so the battle that they have with themselves and figuring out how long they have left to live and what living really means outside of war. And just everything about those characters just made the whole story. I played through it so fast, and it's just such a beautiful experience.
True. Okay. I've only played Xenoblade Chronicles 1. I have heard tons of good things about 3, but now you're scratching that itch for me that maybe that needs to come in the library.
A lot of people are put off by the combat, I think, but you can turn it to be easy, and it will take you out of your comfort zone, but you're kind of rewarded for it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a difficult one to recommend because it's so out there, but it's also I couldn't tell you a better story on the Switch.
Scott, what is a untraditional cozy game for you?
I mean, I was kind of mentioned it earlier, but I feel like I typically only play games that are appealing to me in some way that like scratch the cozy itch, just because of the way my brain works and the things that I like. So it's really anything that feels comfortable to me or like brings comfort to me or is like super familiar in some ways. Like I know I've played a few RPGs now, old and new, and like those I really like those games, but I don't know that they're going to be comfort games to me because they're so far out of what I typically like and just even my day-to-day. But I think of just like cute games or games that have I said I wasn't going to say cute, but I said
yeah. Tangent there for Eeowna. We had an episode where we were talking about, was it Minish Cap or was it Wind Waker, where you said cute every like 3 minutes, and I was like, you can't say it's cute, and the first thing he said within the first like minute was like it was cute, and it just kept coming out. It was funny.
Yeah,
it was very funny.
It was Wind Waker, yeah, because that's typically truly on this topic, it's one of my like barometers of, you know, like what's going to get me in. But I don't know, I think of games that are nostalgic to me, and sometimes like nostalgic games or games that have nostalgic to me mechanics in them can make a game cozy game. Like growing up, one of my favorite games was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. So like when Ollie World came out, a cute skateboarding game that was pick up, put down, like was so cozy to me because it did one thing really well. You're just going around skateboarding. It was cute. The music was great. It was just nice, casual, and familiar to me. So that was nice. I don't know if you would call Ollie World traditionally like a cozy game. Or like puzzles, like a lot of the older Zelda games are really cozy games to me, or some of the older Mario games, or even like the Pokemon games. But I don't know, like I also am in a unique position because I can turn any game into a cozy game, because Patrick is such a gamer that if I don't want chaos, but a game has chaos in it, and I get to the chaos, I can just be like, hey babe. I don't have the mental capacity for this right now. Like Shovel Knight is a cozy game to me, because which I know it can get really hard, but if I get to a part that like I can't devote the mental capacity to, I'm just like, yeah,
I got you. I'll get you.
That's
through
me
it.
with Baldur's Gate. Every time I get stuck, I'm like, my brother's home. I'm like, get me past this point, please. I'm stuck. And he'll come do the battle for me. I find nostalgia is really interesting though, because cozy games, whilst not for women, have a much larger female demographic. Like, for example, my channel on a cozy gaming video is like 70 to 80% female, I think, at this point. Although also YouTube saw it out because there's no non-binary option, and it really annoys me. Like, but anyway, tangent. But nostalgia is interesting because a lot of us didn't really game as much as kids. So we kind of have lost. So we have like a rule in my community, which is no question's a dumb question. Because some people have like my brother had decades of experience, more despite being younger than me, of gaming than I did. Because, for example, in my household, he was bought all the gaming stuff for Christmases and birthdays. And that wasn't something commonly seen as something women do.
Truly.
So
yeah.
I feel like a large part of cozy gaming and why it's so big is that it's an acceptance of people of all abilities and of all histories through gaming, that everyone can enjoy almost equally. So a lot of us have lost out on like the nostalgia or the almost like gaming common knowledge that has been built through, like a good example is knowing that a ledge that has like a white paint on it is something you can
climb on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
But if you've never gamed before until 2023, 2022, you never had that. That's never something. So I always find it really interesting when we talk about cozy gaming, acceptance of cozy gaming, is that a lot of us don't have that history necessarily. Like, yeah, I did game before, but not to the same extent my brother did game, because it just wasn't something that was commonly seen as something women did back then. So I find like cozy gaming is really interesting because everyone's histories are so different.
Very much so, like, personifies our relationship, because there'll be some times where Scott will be playing a game and I'll be watching him and he'll be like fighting an ice monster, and I was like, and I see him struggling and I'm like, when is he gonna hit it with his fire item or fire spell or whatever? And then I will like just casually say, I'm like, you have your fire arrows, right? And he'd be like, oh yeah. But I don't hold it against him for not. I don't feel like he's lesser. I don't think anyone's lesser. But for me, it is like you're saying. I've been a gamer since I was 6, maybe earlier. I get it. Like to me, it just comes so naturally to like how to manipulate a game. But that's not the case for everyone.
I think cozy games cater for that, which not every game genre does.
I could hand my dad Stardew Valley and be like, play, and I'd have to show a couple of things on how to do that the game doesn't naturally show you, but like he could figure it out. Like eventually he would get it. So I'm split on it. Some games for me that I think are like non-traditionally cozy are nostalgic games, like Shining Force 2. To me, it's a tactics game that was on the Sega. It has the whole package of me for like what would make it cozy. It is bright and vibrant in the art design and colors. It has a very lighthearted fairy tale-ish story, and the music is just often chipper or dialed in to make it really fun. But then I also think of games like Final Fantasy IX, which is kind of like what you're talking about, where what makes that cozy for me is the characters and how they all have their journeys that all coincide. Because you play Final Fantasy IX, right, Eeowna?
I know of the franchise. I don't have a PlayStation, so I haven't been able to dabble into Final Fantasy.
Well, if at all ever, 9 would be a great one for you to dabble in. But like everyone's narrative is very interwoven and involves existentialism is kind of like the huge pull of it, kind of like Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I feel like there's a big cross there in like what life means and what you're supposed to do with your life, and those kinds of things just really draw you in. Like they really make you enjoy a game, even though there might be some slight challenging parts, there might be some parts that are off-putting, but the narrative tends to push you through. Dragon Quest will always be that big cozy franchise for me as well. Like I get so excited when I see the monsters that pop back in, the characters are always super fleshed out, the world is all very cute, even though some serious things are happening. So those are some great like just cozy titles as well.
I love Dragon Quest. It's like it's repetitive enough that like you feel out your comfort zone at first, but then everything's more or less the same for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's like playing Pokemon at this point. Like I know Dragon Quest came way before Pokemon, but like they both are franchises that have been around for a long time, and you just see that familiarity that like it's okay that they haven't strayed too much because it really is just comfortable for everyone. And then you think of a series like Final Fantasy where it's different every entry and different enough that you don't know if it has that same identity. So yeah. Okay, to end this conversation on cozy games, I would love to hear some of our bests and worsts. And when we say worst, maybe it's not so much as like this is a bad game as much as it is like I might not have had the greatest experience with this one, because obviously, especially when we get to indie game territory, I don't necessarily like slamming indie developers, but that doesn't mean we always have to have a good experience with all the games. So I just kind of want to hear what were some of the wins and maybe not so wins for each of you on some cozy games.
I think Cosmic Wheel of Sisterhood's a very recent one. I was trying to remember who I was speaking to this about, but I struggle to find time in my life to necessarily read. It's something I've been struggling to get into. I want to read. I want to get into reading books, but it's not something I ever just find myself doing.
Sure.
And then I started playing Cosmic Wheel of Sisterhood, and that is essentially got some visuals in. You can make your own tarot cards, but essentially it is a choose your own adventure book. Lots of dialogue, consequences to all your actions as you go, lots of reading. The whole game takes place inside basically a prison, but you get to learn about the entire world and the world building from your little prison by the conversations you have with people. So I really, really enjoyed that. Spiritfarer will always be up there, I think, as will the likes of Animal Crossing, just because Animal Crossing is Animal Crossing, and it's one of the only AAA gaming experience you can have for a cozy game as well.
Truly.
In terms of negatives, most of them just come down to not running very well on the Switch, or sometimes not being marketed maybe as a true sense of what it is what I found as well. Mineko's Night Market wasn't exactly what I thought it was from the trailers. I thought it was going to be a more story driven, like a lot of dialogue stuff, and it turned out to be very grindy.
That's too bad, because that was on my list of games to play, so I'm happy that you said that.
Yeah, it has a really nice story when you get to it, a really nice like bits and pieces, but you are grinding for resources is the predominant part of gameplay, and that didn't come across in the trailer. But yeah, the Switch performance has been an issue for most of the games, some of which fix them, some of which don't fix them. Like My Time at Sandrock didn't come out a great state on the Switch, but looks much better now, actually.
I'm happy you said that too, because my not so great pick was My Time at Portia for that reason, where I played that on Switch, and like there were elements of that game that I really, really, really do like and recommend, but it was also very buggy. And that
it's much better on PC.
And I really struggled with that. And like, it really sucks when you're playing a cozy game and the game crashes, and you might not only lose a day, but you might lose a couple of days depending on how hard the crash is. And I also felt like doing too much, some of the characters just kind of felt a little weaker in that game. So like that, I'm with you. Like sometimes if a game does not perform on a system, maybe it shouldn't be there in the first place, because it kind of breaks that experience.
Yeah, I think the 2023 was the year where towards the end I kind of started questioning if these games should have been ported to the Switch. Like sometimes the state at which I was playing some of them day one, I don't know how that decision was come to, that game was going to be sold regardless, in all honesty. There was a few games that one of them barely even ran, like it was like a PowerPoint show, and that was released that day. It took them 2 weeks to get that fixed.
Oof.
And at that point you sat there and you're like, I don't know what's gone wrong in the process of getting this to the Switch, but I don't know why this was allowed to go ahead. So give us the Switch 2 so this can stop, please.
Yeah, seriously.
We need it.
We shouldn't have to like go to our computers or our Steam Decks to enjoy these games. You know, like Nintendo should be able to do this too. Scott, what about you? What were some of like your top picks, or some of your like maybe this wasn't so great?
Yeah, I think the maybe so great ones are hard, because I think a lot of them it's just like anything, it's like personal preference, right? Like I think Animal Crossing is not for me. I know people love it and I love that they love it, but like that one for me is like not great. I think I also was thinking of like
what was
pointless game.
What was that one that you played where you really hated the user experience? Was it Bear and Breakfast?
Yes, Bear
and
Breakfast.
Yeah,
yes.
on the Switch.
On the Switch.
Yeah.
It got way too chaotic, way too quickly, but also the user experience was. I design software for a living, and which I know is different from games, but still I pay attention to the user interface a lot. And the GUI on Bear and Breakfast was just.
It's notorious for being not a good port.
Yeah. Which is
It
too
was-
bad, because like there again, watching you play that game, it's super cute. You know, and like, and
well,
it's super
it's not the
unique.
only qualifier for a good game.
Fuck
Cute's
off.
not the only thing that makes. Like,
Fuck off.
No, it was super cute. But yeah, it was like it made it really hard to play. Where I think I got to like the second little area, or I unlocked the second or third little area, and I was like, I can't. Like you're managing so much at that point that I was just like, I can't continue playing it. Like it was, and maybe they fix it, maybe they haven't. I don't know. Maybe I'll pick it up again at some point. But
That was a mouse game for sure.
Yeah, meant to be played with mouse for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I don't know what like for like the worst. I also think of like, is The Sims a cozy game?
Yeah.
I could never get into The Sims either, because I was like, but what do you do? And my friends were like, you just play. And I was like, but you just, there's like, nothing. Okay. Or like,
I made the
isn't it
Hunger
like,
Games.
Yeah. It's like, isn't
I
it
trapped
like
them all in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that it's the game where you find out who's actually a sociopath because of what you just said.
Yeah.
Like my chat told me off because I was like, oh, I don't really like The Sims 4 as much as like the older Sims. And they're like, why? And I was like, it's actually really hard to like kill your Sims. And that put me off. And they were all looking at me like, are you okay? Like I wanted it to be easier for them to die. Like
they're like creeping
like
over
one
the
of them-
report button. They're like,
Yeah, one of them like set on fire and then they were just fine. And I was like, where's the fun in that, you know?
Never lock me in a house with you. I think some of my favorites are obvious. Like Stardew Valley has had such an impression on my life, like outside of gaming. Like it has created me to do a garden. Like Scott and I did gardening for a few years. We cook a lot more because of it. Like fun things. We made preserves one day, so I think and then it made us enjoy like just going out in nature. We did foraging a couple times too, which was a lot of fun. And Toom, Toem, is that how you say it? Toom. It's like
I always pronounce it Tome in my
it's
head.
a black and white photography game.
Oh yeah. I think I know that one.
Cartoony characters, and you go to like 4 different places, and you just like go to the top of a mountain.
So cute.
That is literally just like one of the most wholesome experiences ever. Like it's like just a nice, compact, fun adventure. Like it's a good chuckle with a lot of things that happen. But one of the worst for me, again, not saying it's a bad game, but just maybe not for me. Aside from Portia, Moonlighter, a little more action oriented, but to me, any game where you can be a shopkeeper is something that really interests me. Like I want to play this game. There's
so few of them.
And there are so few of them, and I just kind of feel like it didn't do the shopkeeper mechanic well. There was actually a game that came out a long time ago called like Reciteer or Racketeer or something like that I think did it a lot better, but I don't even think you can play that game anymore on Steam. I think it's just like gone. But Moonlighter, there's just something about like I can just put this like random junk and for some reason someone's gonna come and buy it. Like that's not a shop, that's just like dumping loot. Like I just don't get the purpose of it. And so I think it had the potential to be there, but any game where you could be a shopkeeper, like I want that game. Fantasy shopkeeping.
Have you played Dave the Diver?
So that is on the list as well. That like but to me I think it's more like the fantasy side of it. Like Dave,
yeah,
I want to play Dave the Diver. I think it is going to be a hell of a
I was going to say,
time.
I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
Because the restaurant side of things is so good.
Because the management and whatnot, yeah. Also, not the biggest fan of like deep diving in the ocean, but I think I can get past that
a lot of
for
people
the
get
game.
off put by that. But yeah, Dave the Diver's restaurant. It's the same with Cult of the Lamb. A part of me wants those games without the roguelike part. Like, give me the cult management road of Cult of the Lamb, fantastic. The restaurant management of Dave the Diver, fantastic. A small part of me is like, just release that side. Forget the fighting part.
I could be
Give me
into
the
those.
chill.
I could be into those.
All right, and that about wraps up our discussion on cozy games. Stick around for part 2 where we're gonna play a little fun game with each other. But for now, tell us your thoughts about this episode and what you think on cozy games and all the things we said down in the comments, and make sure you like, comment, or subscribe. We'll be right back. And we're back for our middle segment, What You Playing, where we currently talk about the games that are docked in our systems. I don't know why I said that, but I did. Scott, let's start with you. What are you... and it's weird thinking because I know, but also I'm just so proud of you for playing games. What are you playing right now?
Oh, goodness. What's docked for me right now?
Yeah, what's docked for you right now? Oh, I hate that.
Yeah,
I hate it.
Yeah, me too. I'm not going to ever let you forget that you did that. So what's docked for me right now is I just started playing the remake of Super Mario RPG. I know
Speaking of cozy games.
Speaking of cozy games, I know I played it on, I think form factor might be a big thing for me too. But I know I started playing it on our little Super Nintendo thing a while back, streaming. But I've started playing the remake and it's been so nice. It is a very cozy experience, even though it's got combat in it, but is it really combat?
Turn-based hits different.
Yeah, especially when it's like random frogs and things. I don't know. So I'm playing that, and I took a break from. I'm playing Breath of the Wild for the first time, but
also sort of cozy, depending. Yeah, has a vibe to it.
Once you get past the beginning, I think.
Yeah.
The exploring is cozy.
Yeah, I think you could put a cozy label on it, but for some people, but it's not the coziest Zelda for me. But I am enjoying it, but I just needed a break from that. But those are the two big ones that I'm playing right now. Though I've written a lot of notes during this of some games that I wanna play. So
Fun.
That's what I'm playing. I guess another game I'm playing is a game on my iPad called Procreate, where I'm designing the next RPGaymer postcard.
Oh, yay. Eeowna, what are you playing right now?
I've got one non-traditionally cozy on the go, and then one cozy on the go.
Sure.
So, not so cozy. I've been playing, is it Persona 3 Reloaded? Whatever the remake is of that. Persona 5 was my first ever little dabble into Persona. And
A good
I've been
one to dabble
loving...
into, yeah.
Yeah, I fell in love with it. It's so long, like there's so much to it. Never before have I had a game where 50 hours in, it's like, here's another tutorial for you. So I just love the story, and like it feels cozy again, like for the same reason Three Houses did. The outside of the battling part, I really enjoy and really love. And Persona 3 seems to be doing that pretty well so far. And then cozy-wise, I'm working through Bandle Tale, which, as of recording of this, came out, a week ago, I think? Very different take. So, it's actually League of Legends related. Okay. So you play as a little Yordle, who are this
I know what game you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and they're little species who everything is kind of based on knitting, and you attend a really wild party, and this party is so wild that it breaks the portals to all around the area. So you have to run around as a tiny little Yordle, which is kind of like an animal-like creature with little ears that you get to design at the beginning. And they call it an RPG crafting sim. So everything you do to forward the story and to level your character up like in an RPG is all done by foraging and crafting instead of by combat and levels that way.
That sounds wonderful.
So it's kind of liken it to Stardew Valley in that it gives you a bit of help but doesn't tell you everything you need to do. So some people love the lack of direction, some people don't. But the thing I've really been liking compared to like a lot of games, a lot of the cozy genre in the last year or so, is the strength is actually really in the dialogue. There's so much character in just reading the conversations between characters, and less of the mechanics are a big part, but it hasn't taken away from the story of the game, which I've really been liking.
That sounds super fun. It kind of I mean, I know Fantasy Life has combat in it, but it kind of reminds me of what you're saying about Fantasy Life, where like have you played Fantasy Life at all?
I'm not the original. I'm very much looking forward to when this finally comes out. Ago Steel's time.
Super delayed. But the original one, like you would level up by making potions or cooking or like making furniture and stuff like that. And I thought that was a lot of fun. It kind of reminds me of that. Like you didn't have to do any of the combat stuff. So that was kind of reminds me of that. I talked about Dinkum last week, so instead, even though I am currently playing that, so instead I think I'm going to talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because it's here. I am loving it. It also has a huge cozy vibe to it, because it has that sandboxy open world I'm going to explore. Like, yes, it is very intense with combat, and I know that is not necessarily cozy vibes, but there's something about walking around in this giant world. There aren't as many combat encounters as you'd think there would be, and just like how nice and realistic it looks with the beautiful music coming in, almost like did you play Skyrim at all?
Yeah.
Like, you know how you just like randomly aimlessly walking and you see like giant mountains in the distance and different landforms and like small towns. Like there is a coziness to that game that is like just truly like awe-inspiring, and I think that's what I get a little bit from Rebirth. I don't want to talk about any spoilers, but I'm just saying like this is the first good Final Fantasy that's come out in a long time, and it's making me very happy. So
I might have to get PlayStation.
It's worth it.
It's nostalgic for you too, right?
Yeah, like I played all the Final Fantasies as they've released, even the original one when I was a kid. But this one, because I love Final Fantasy VII, it's not my favorite, but I mean like it is up there. Seeing this and just seeing the integrity in which they have made it, because Square Enix can be really hit or miss on some of their games. This one is truly a hit. Like they are doing great with it. So. And we're back for part 2 of our episode, and as usual in part 2 we like to play a little game with each other, and we're going to play a game that we've played maybe once before. It's inspired by the phrase "but make it fashion," but this time we're going to do "but make it cozy." So what we're going to do is we're going to give a game that is not typically cozy to another person, or non-traditionally cozy, and we're going to add elements or remove elements to cozify them. So... and then we'll just kind of have fun and just like chat about what those things are. Scott, why don't you go ahead and give Eeowna one of the games that she needs to cozify?
All right, Eeowna, first up, I'm going to give you the game, the chaotic game Overcooked. How can you make Overcooked cozy?
What would an Overcooked cozy game look like?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, first of all, you play with someone you don't know. You can't have any family arguments. Nothing can be kept on away from the game if you don't know the other person. I've seen people on TikTok do this thing where they stand up there and they tell everyone their roles.
Oh.
Before...
we had that experience a month or two ago. We played it with friends, and it was very much like we had that conversation, and it was an ugly conversation to get there, but how fluidly things went after that, it's true. It is very true.
So maybe have a system where it like tells you what you need to do like beforehand, so there's no like figuring it out on the fly as you start off each level. Or a designated leader, so there's no arguments, like being like, oh, player X is the leader for this level, and then that person's like, oh yeah, rather than having the whole figuring out your dynamic as you're in the restaurant, and then having a natural leader maybe pop up, or maybe you have two and then there's another problem. Honestly though, if I was to make that slightly cozier, I'd just get rid of the time limit. I think that would be the simple answer would be get rid of the time limit. I think the more chaotic answer would just be more players.
More players.
Take the limit away from 4. Put more cooks in the kitchen.
Oh, God.
Make it even easier to do each of the orders. So, like, that way, there's more people, which should, in theory, make it easier, right?
Or you receive an actual paycheck for all your work.
Yeah.
For feeding the virtual space.
That would make it cozy. That would make it, for sure, cozy for me.
All right. Iona, why don't you go ahead and give one to me?
Okay. I think you need to make Assassin's Creed cozy.
That is maybe one of the few games that I have not played.
No!
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try... Okay. What about Minecraft?
Okay, so I feel like this is the most simple. To make Minecraft cozy, I would take out creepers. Boom. Done. I feel like that's like literally all you need to do, because the fact that something can just like sneak up on you and explode. Also, what's the thing that's kind of like Slenderman that's in that game? Or is that
Enderman.
Yeah, Enderman. Like, I also gone. Boom. That's it.
I find the villagers creepy.
Do you do?
Yeah, I don't know why. They really creep me out when I see a little village with them. I'm like, how are you surviving?
Did you do a video on how Minecraft is not a cozy game? Was that you?
I did state how I don't figure out how people find it cozy. That's because the first time I played it, I didn't realize that nighttime was so dangerous. No, it doesn't tell you that.
I feel like that's, to me, like when it goes out of the cozy realm, because Terraria, however you say it, is the same way. Where like during the day you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like make these houses and collect things, but then like at fucking night, no. So just remove those things. I feel like boom, done.
There's just so many like, you just got like so many unexpected things in Minecraft. You'll just be chilling and then you drop into like lava and you're like, okay, cool. I guess I'm dying this way this time.
Isn't it also a lot of pay to play these days?
Minecraft, I'm trying to think. There might be DLC.
Or is it okay.
I don't know. Well, people just like mod the shit out of it. So
so it's just like mods and stuff.
Yeah. You I think you're thinking of Fortnite maybe. Fortnite is super pay to play.
Well, yeah, maybe that is what I'm thinking of.
Okay, Scott, here is one for you. I want you to cozify Shovel Knight.
Ooh, see, I already told you. I already make Shovel Knight cozy because whenever I get to a part, I'm like, I'm like, you play it. Okay, so to make Shovel Knight cozy for everyone, first off, I would make Shovel Knight dateable. Well, I guess you're playing, but still. So I love Shovel Knight. And
I love how
call
easy
Shovel
that was
Knight,
to find.
I call Shovel Knight my boyfriend. This is my
True.
boyfriend. So
Truly.
one, I would make him dateable. I also, how else would I make it cozy?
Would you make it a
Maybe
dating sim with all the other knights?
Maybe. Maybe it's a dating sim. I feel like changing the music a lot. Maybe just like changing the settings in some of the levels would be cool. Or just like, I mean, they're already pretty kind of puzzle heavy, so making like the puzzles.
Would it still be a
like
platforming game?
Yeah, I think it could be like platforming, but maybe like a more whimsical platforming. I think it is. Shovel Knight is just, the story is so whimsical anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you just like leaned into like lighthearted whimsy versus like, because it's a pretty dark game. So maybe if you just like flipped the tone a little bit with like the setting and the music, then I feel like it could become pretty cozy pretty quickly.
So basically, if it smoked a fat blunt, like if it just chilled someone,
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, every farming sim starts with murder, so why can't other cozy genres?
Bye, Grandpa.
Yeah, all the time.
Oh my god, was he
Truly.
murdered? Was the grandpa murdered? In
Could
Stardew
be.
Valley? That's a DLC I'd pay for.
It becomes a detective. How can we make a
The
cozy
next
game
farm.
a detective game?
Yeah, the next farm. I know people have been speculating about like the next farm in Stardew Valley, but really it's just going to be like, yeah, like detective mode, where it's like your grandfather was actually murdered and you have 2 years to
Solve it.
to find the murderer.
Oh, no.
It's like every farming sim as well. You just can't. Doesn't matter whether you play like anything from Harvest Moon or not. Everything starts with someone dying at the beginning. Like, why can't you take over a farm with no death? Why is it always death orientated?
Or in Story of Seasons, your parents just shame the shit out of you. Truly.
Truly.
Okay.
There's always some sort of trauma involved. Wait, can I ask you one, Patrick?
Yeah, you're pitching. I was gonna say you're pitching to me now.
Okay.
Make it cozy.
I would love to pitch one to you. Please make Cuphead cozy.
Oh fuck.
I feel like that one tricked people. They saw the
tricked me.
art style and
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Oh, I want this. This
Oh.
looks really cool."
Tangent story. So like literally, I was so proud. I saw Scott playing the Switch one day, and I was like, What's he playing? Like, I'm excited. I want to know. And I peeked over his shoulder, and he's playing Cuphead, and I was like, oh baby, no. Like, baby, no, you do not want to play that. He's like, no, it's fine. The art. And I'm like, I understand that. That game might be too hard for me, which I have beaten it since then. But I mean, like, that was one of the hardest games I've ever played in my entire life. No. And I feel like it was probably better that you didn't play it.
Yeah. I got to like the third level, and I was like, okay, I'm done. It was cute. I'll just order the art book instead. So I ordered the art book instead.
I feel like if I were to make Cuphead cozy, I would just make it a TV show. No, I'm just joking. That's already happened. I think it would be just a restaurant sim. Like, I feel like it's already there. It would be a coffee house sim. You know, you are two brothers who are just trying to make this wonderful coffee shop pop in this really 50s style animation world, right? Like, you are literally a giant cup. I feel like the writing is right there.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah,
And
it's
like,
right there.
and some of your like the people that pop in, they're the regulars that you get to know, are just some of the bosses from the game. Like, they just kind of come in and you just kind of get to know them and serve their orders. It's kind of like coffee talk, basically.
And the art style would be so cute.
Oh, absolutely! Like, beautiful art style. Okay, Eeowna, I have one for you. Because you said that you're already a fan of this series, I'm going to pitch Fire Emblem to you, but not Three Houses. How would we make a Fire Emblem cozy?
Fire Emblem cozy. I feel like let's just like get out of war with diplomacy. Like,
okay, yeah, that's good.
So give me some dialogue options so I can talk us out of the war side of things, you know? Use our words, not our pointy sticks or whatever they be using in these latest ones.
How did we not talk about Undertale and just doing a pacifist route in this entire, like, and how that game is, like, even though it's stressful, it's also very cozy. Like, I feel like what you just said is basically like the Undertale version of Fire Emblem. Like, no, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk our way out of all this.
So you'll
great.
see yourself, like, you still get the journeying, like you'll journey to different places because you'll have to like discuss it with all the leaders, and you get all the relationship side of things. And obviously you keep the dating in it because why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a fun little thing. But yeah, I'd love, you get all the cutscenes, but diplomacy, less fighting, and I guess the game would end if anyone picks a fight with anyone else because you kind of failed. And that way...
Think of all the bandit chiefs that you've just made reform criminals. Like, they just now want to go and live a true life.
Yeah, exactly. I like the idea of being put on this earth to just talk this out. I don't know how you'd be selected to be this person. I don't know where your pre-story will come from at all. But yeah, just traveling around being like, no war,
You're
not
obviously
today.
the kid of a dragon.
Who has, I don't know, like the ability to just talk themselves out of anything. That special
sounds
power.
like a video game character.
But yeah, give me dialogue options, talk them out of war, kind of Baldur's Gate style, you know, where you can just invent a way that isn't fighting. Hopefully.
Truly. All right, Eeowna, why don't you pitch one to Scott?
Okay, I feel like this is similar to Overcooked, so Mario Kart.
Ooh, okay, I like this. So how do we make Mario Kart cozy? Every level is Rainbow Road.
That is the opposite of cozy. That is the opposite of cozy. But that is the hardest world in some of them.
I know, but it's so aesthetically pleasing.
Alert.
So you put
Alert.
so we put guardrails on Rainbow Road.
Okay.
And every level is now Rainbow Road. No, I think
Are we all holding hands as we race to?
yeah, we're making it cozy. Holding hands is cozy. So yeah, we hold hands. And I don't know, how else could you make Mario Kart cozy? So the big mechanics are obviously like driving. So we can, I don't know, maybe it's like a road trip game. Maybe it's like Mario Road Trip Kart.
Bro, it's a road trip game.
Or maybe it's the setting again and you're at like a fair or something instead of just on all these random levels. I don't know. There are a lot of ways that you can make Mario Kart cozy, or maybe it turns into some sort of like board game.
Oh, it would just be
What
Mario
about blue
Party.
Shells?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just
no more shells.
remove blue shells.
Yeah. No more shells. No more of those tricky things. When you hit the cubes on the tracks, you get prizes for you, just for you. It's only bonuses for you, and it doesn't harm anybody. Okay. Eeowna, how can we make Donkey Kong a cozy game?
You can't.
Well, I feel like he gets snubbed. He doesn't have any dialogue. The poor man never gets to speak his mind. He just has to be put as like Bowser always has a reason why he's like the bad guy. Bowser has a motive. He's done something wrong. I feel like Donkey Kong can't make up his mind. I feel like sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad.
True.
He's just kind of. I think he just needs friends. I think he just. I think a befriending sim for Donkey Kong, so we can give him some lines. He can say what he needs to say.
Yeah, a friend and a narrative.
Yeah.
What about Diddy?
Give him the limelight a bit, you know.
What
That
about
might
Diddy
be.
and Cranky? Does he? They're his friends.
He never gets his time to shine. Bless him. It's always Mario and Donkey Kong. Like he rarely gets his own games anymore, and no one ever picks him in Mario Kart. I swear. He's been upstaged everywhere else, so just give him a shot.
Those chunky boys are so slow.
Yeah. It is. He needs romance. Maybe a romance dating sim.
Aww.
Because at least Bowser has loved and lost, and Donkey Kong. I mean, does he have a kid? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think Diddy's his kid. So
No, he needs to find love. So I'll just turn it into a dating sim, so he can have his happily ever after.
Okay. All right, Eeowna, why don't you pick one for me?
Okay, I think this one might be too hard,
We'll
but we're going for one of the OG games of Tetris.
Oh, how would you make Tetris cozy? I think
Notoriously stressful.
I feel like every time you got a Tetris, the game would go, "Oh yeah?" No. Oh yeah? Man. It would be cats. Instead of
Okay,
it being
I'm in.
Tetris shapes, it's literally just cats that you're lining up, and every time you get a line of cats, they do adorable meows. You get to choose the speed at which they go down. And then there would be like 3 times where you could Fire Emblem turn wheel and reverse your decision.
Oh my god, that is such a good mechanic.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it is. That's how we would codify that game, because then you're like, oh man, I just like lost. You could go back a few rounds of shapes. So cats.
I always hate the
turn wheel.
I hate when people are like that in Fire Emblem, when they were like, oh, I hate that it's a thing. It makes the game too easy. And it's like, you know, you cannot use it.
Truly. Well, I think a part of the reason why, again, knowing the Fire Emblem community, is that they feel like when it's in there, the game is built for it. Like, anticipating that you're going to do that. And also, like, for 3 houses, it's really hard to move on because there are so few characters that you have versus the other one where you get like 50 characters, you know, you can move on really easily. So I think that's where it partly comes from. But like, hell yeah, in other games, if that was in there, I do that all the time in Tetris. You need stuff like that. Okay, Scott, you need to cosify Horizon Forbidden West. Or Zero Dawn. Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Ooh, I mean either. Honestly, the answer is pretty easy. Instead of going and killing the robot dinosaurs, you just go and befriend the robot dinosaurs.
But would it be like an animal raising sim, but for the robots?
Yeah, like if it was like Pokemon, but with the dinosaur robots, that would be incredible. Like,
so it's just basically Digimon at that point.
Sure. So yeah, you just make it Digimon. Because the setting's already beautiful, the music is already beautiful. I mean, the robot dinosaurs are really cool. Like, they're really cool. So I think that if you just like befriended them instead of murdering them for parts, I think would immediately make it cozy.
Are they still trying to murder you though? Are they still like destroying the world?
No, they're just there. They're just out existing in the wild, and there's no imminent threat to the world anymore. Yeah, I think we could have more dinosaur games that are not just like silly little dinosaur games. You know what I mean?
Is it Pokemon like in the sense where they're like they'll battle, but like it's cutesy, not death battle like in Pokemon?
No, I think we need to like take it even further back to that. Maybe it's like Stardew Valley, where you just like you have them on a farm. And I know you don't catch them in Stardew Valley, but like maybe you like take them back to your farm and like domesticate them.
I mean, a massive farming game where you're using giant robot animals to help you like work on your farm is pretty sick. Not gonna lie. Like, think of all the extra, like how big your fields could be because you have these giant things that would like do some of the things for you. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Think about how mining would be different in Stardew Valley. At that point, I guess it would be like excavating. It necessarily wouldn't be like mining, but because you'd have giant machines. But yeah, that would be really fun. I'm really into that. I like that idea.
We made a new game. Easy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I will go ahead and wrap us up with one more. This one's for Eeowna because I love putting our guests on the spot. So, Eeowna, I would love you to make a cozy game out of Super Smash Brothers.
Oh man. I'm trying to think of all this. I feel like Super Smash Bros. Settled so many arguments in our household of just like,
that's incredible.
Oh, we'll just beat each other up in the game. How would you even make that cozy?
Exactly.
You wouldn't be fighting each other. You probably wouldn't. I feel like punching is probably not cozy, full stop. Maybe you like, as a little group, you just, you know where the stage levels change? Maybe you just kind of take it as a roller coaster, like a group roller coaster ride, you know?
Oh, what?
Get to experience it all together.
What if it was like Ooblets?
Like Ooblets?
Where like you form dance parties with the...
Yes, we fight with dance.
We fight with dance. I don't know how we didn't talk about Ooblets at all in this either, because that game is adorable. Oh, I would.
Yeah, like Ooblets, you just dance battle it out.
Could you
kind of like what's it called? Let's Dance. Like you have to physically dance, you know?
Could you imagine like seeing Star Fox and everyone just like dancing to the beat in a group and in a battle?
I'd also love to see you being competitive, stood in the same room, yelling things at each other whilst also dancing as well. I feel like as soon as you start doing that, all arguments are settled. You can't be angry at each other if you see each other dancing like that, you know?
Truly. That is the
Or
beauty
like
of a cozy game.
like a Smash Brothers like DDR crossover. Wasn't that the Dance Dance Revolution?
Well, those exist for like Persona has those. Who else has those? There are a couple different game series that have those. Yeah, Persona has like Persona Dancing All Night, where like they have their.
I have not seen that.
Oh yeah, no, like literally, like it's literally just you input and the characters dance. Look it up after we're done the episode. It's legitimately already a thing.
I actually need to play that.
Yeah, super cute. Okay, well, I think that is a good place to stop our game, and I would love to hear if our listeners have any thoughts on if any of these games that we cosified deserve to be made. But while
except for my dinosaur one, because my dinosaur one is in development.
Yeah, pretty much. Move over, Jurassic World. Eeowna, I want to thank you so much for being here. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a great time.
Yeah, this is super fun. What can our guests expect to see on your channel coming up in the future? What other cool things do you have coming down the pipeline?
So things we actually know about, there's like a bunch of cozy games that are coming out. Princess Peach Showtime I'm really excited for, which is the end of March. And obviously Nintendo being Nintendo. Our Fantasy Life is one we definitely know about that's coming out later this year.
I'm very excited for that.
2025 is the new Pokemon Legends, which just got announced, which I'm very excited for. Much into the future, though, is hopefully the Switch 2, which I'm very excited about. I've never been a content creator when these things have come out, and I'm very excited about the fact that I couldn't find many women talking about the Switch when that came out, so hopefully I'm finally in a position now where I can be that person I was looking for 7-8 years ago, now covering a brand new console. I'm also going to try and do my first ever vlog of going video game hunting in London to all the CX stores and show people a little snippet of what London's like and that sort of thing.
Can't wait to see that. I know.
Yeah, that'll be so fun.
That'd be so fun. Truly. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. We'd love to have you back. Anytime you want to talk about any specific cozy game, we are absolutely here for it. And just honestly, just keep putting out your great content. We love it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts, so be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to be a part of the community, head on over to our Discord at RPGaymer and make sure that you give Eeowna some love and a follow and join her community as well. If you enjoyed listening to us today, be on the lookout for our next episode, Turn-Based Battles, coming up in 2 weeks. We appreciate you all for listening and hope you had a great time. Now go out there and get gaming.